Planet Earth, the only place where banning chewing gum makes more sense than fixing potholes. 1. The Great Singapore Gum Rebellion. In 1992, Singapore decided chewing gum was the root of all chaos. Not crime, not corruption, gum. The government banned it entirely after vandals kept sticking it on subway doors, jamming the system. You could literally face jail time for a stick of juicy fruit. Imagine the customs checkpoint. Anything to declare? Just my orbit, officer. The irony? The ban was so effective that when the country finally allowed medicinal gum in 2004, people treated it like black market gold. Somewhere, a dentist still whispers bedtime stories about the Great Gum Crackdown, where cavities were conquered, but joy died a little inside. 2. Japan versus dancing after midnight Japan, home of karaoke, anime, and the midnight dance ban. Until 2015, it was illegal to dance in public after midnight. The law dated back to post-War moral panic, when dance halls doubled as naughty places. But by the 2000s, DJs and club owners were still getting fined for people doing the Macarena at 12:01 a.m. Imagine police raiding a wedding because grandma dared to two-step past curfew. It took a nationwide campaign and an army of furious millennials to finally legalize late-night dancing again. So next time you're at a Tokyo club, just remember, freedom of movement is a very recent invention. 3. Italy's goldfish loneliness law. In 2004, the city of Monza, Italy, passed a law banning goldfish bowls. Why? Because they said it made the fish lonely. Yes, the same country where you can still smoke near a baby decided to protect the emotional well-being of fish. Officials argued the curved glass distorts reality, making goldfish depressed. Picture an Italian cop walking into a house like, "Sir, your goldfish looks existentially sad. I'm going to have to confiscate him." It's the most poetic animal rights law ever written, turning aquariums into crime scenes and fish into tragic philosophers of the deep. 4. Denmark's baby name police. In Denmark, you can't just name your kid whatever you want. The government has an official list of around 7,000 approved baby names, and if your dream name isn't on it, you need to file a written application to the Ministry of Ecclesiastical Affairs. Try naming your kid Banana or Thor Destroyer of Souls, and they'll politely decline. The law was designed to protect children from embarrassment, but it's become a national comedy routine. Every year, parents go to bureaucratic war to win names like Anus, Pluto, or Monkey. Imagine being a government clerk whose job is deciding whether Captain Awesome is a threat to Danish dignity. It's the only country where a baby registry doubles as a witness protection program, shielding kids from their parents' bad sense of humor. 5. The Canadian Coin Conspiracy. Canada once made a law limiting how many coins you can use to pay. You can't use more than 25 loonies, the $1 coin, in one transaction, or it's technically illegal. This was to stop people from dumping buckets of change at cashiers, but it created a national sport called petty rebellion. Canadians started testing the rule in the most polite way possible. Imagine a Tim Hortons clerk staring at a mountain of coins while the customer smiles and says, "I'm sorry, but this is legal tender." It's the politest financial crime spree in history. Only in Canada can you start a civil uprising with a coffee purchase and a jar of nickels. 6. France's no kissing on trains rule. Romance may have been born in France, but it's not welcome on the train platform. Since 1910, it's been illegal to kiss on French train platforms. The reason? Kissing couples cause delays because people refuse to stop making out long enough to board the train. So the government banned platform passion entirely. Imagine a Parisian officer breaking up a romantic farewell. "Monsieur, step away from the lips." It's the only country where love is fine, just not if it interferes with the railway schedule. Ironically, the law technically still exists, even though it's rarely enforced. So if you ever visit France, remember, you can kiss under the Eiffel Tower. But at the station? That's a federal offense of love. 7. Australia's bizarre light bulb ban. In 2007, Australia became the first country to ban traditional light bulbs. The government declared war on inefficient bulbs, making it illegal to sell old incandescent ones. But things got weird when people started hoarding them like doomsday supplies. Hardware stores saw panicked mobs buying cartloads of bulbs, whispering like smugglers, "These are the bright ones, mate." Some Australians even built light bulb bunkers to keep the outlawed lamps safe. The ban worked, energy efficiency skyrocketed. But for a while, the black market in Sydney wasn't for drugs or weapons, it was for 60-watt bulbs. Only in Australia would someone risk fines to keep their kitchen properly cozy. 8. The UK's banned from dyeing law. In a twist worthy of Monty Python, the British village of Longyearbyen, technically in Norwegian territory but run under British law for years, banned dyeing. Why? Because the ground was so frozen that corpses never decomposed, and diseases from the 1918 flu pandemic were still found preserved in graves decades later. The solution? If you feel like dying, please do so elsewhere. It's an actual law. Residents near death are flown to the mainland to pass away legally. Imagine filling out paperwork to die somewhere warmer. It's the most British thing ever, turning mortality into a logistical inconvenience. Terribly sorry, old chap. The cemetery's full. Could you perish in Oslo instead? 9. Switzerland's social hamster law. Switzerland, the land of neutrality, cheese, and, surprisingly, emotional legislation. In 2008, they passed a law making it illegal to own just one social animal. That includes guinea pigs, goldfish, and parrots. Why? Because the government declared that loneliness is animal cruelty. If your hamster dies, you're legally required to buy another one immediately so the survivor doesn't get depressed. There's even a rent-a-guinea-pig service where you can borrow a temporary furry companion until you adopt a new one. Imagine explaining that to customs. I'm just importing emotional support rodents, officer. The law might sound absurd, but it's weirdly wholesome. Switzerland criminalized loneliness. Somewhere, a guinea pig court is probably hearing cases of neglect like, "Your Honor, he stopped talking to me after I chewed the carpet." 10. The American pickle law. In Connecticut, selling a non-bouncing pickle is technically illegal. This all started in 1948 when two businessmen were caught selling fake pickles that were basically salty cucumbers. The state chemist ruled that a real pickle should bounce when dropped, and thus, the official pickle test was born. To this day, Connecticut regulators will still drop your pickles to see if they're legit. Picture a health inspector in a lab coat, solemnly tossing pickles across the floor like he's in a weird Olympic event. If they splat instead of bounce, congratulations, you've committed produce fraud. It's probably the only food law in the world where science and slapstick comedy intersect perfectly. Connecticut, protecting consumers, one airborne pickle at a time. 11. The Canadian apology law. Canadians are famous for saying sorry about everything. But in 2009, their courts had to step in, legally. They passed the Apology Act, which states that saying sorry in court doesn't count as an admission of guilt. Before that, if a doctor apologized to a patient or a driver said sorry after a crash, it could be used against them. Now, it's just a polite reflex. Essentially, Canada legalized compassion. Imagine testifying in court. Did you run that stop sign? Sorry. Objection, Your Honor. That's a confession. No, it's just Canadian. Only in Canada could a government write an entire law just to protect the national pastime of over-apologizing. It's the politest loophole in legal history. 12. Germany's Autobahn speed rule. Germany's Autobahn is legendary for having no speed limits, except that's only half true. There's a rule called Richtgeschwindigkeit, meaning a recommended speed of 130 km/h, about 80 mph. Drive faster, and while it's technically legal, if you crash, you're automatically blamed because you were going too fast for your own good. It's like the world's strictest parent disguised as a highway. Germans call it the Schrödinger speed limit. It both exists and doesn't. And get this, if your car isn't capable of reaching at least 60 mph, you're not allowed on the Autobahn at all. So, if you're cruising in your 1998 Prius and think you can live out your Fast and Furious fantasy, good luck explaining to the cop that you were just trying to embrace freedom. 13. Thailand's underwear law. Thailand has a law that's both hilarious and oddly practical. It's illegal to leave your house without wearing underwear. The rule was made in the 1970s as part of a public decency campaign, though enforcement is, let's say, inconsistent. No one's running roadside underwear checks. But technically, if you get into an accident pantless, you could face a fine. It's meant to promote modesty, but it sounds like a plot twist from a bad sitcom. Sir, do you know why I pulled you over? No boxers? Imagine the police report. Suspect was apprehended wearing confidence and nothing else. The law still stands, quietly ensuring that every citizen double-checks their laundry before stepping outside. 14. Samoa's forgetful spouse law. In Samoa, forgetting your wife's birthday is an actual crime. The government decided it was such a common source of domestic chaos that they made it punishable by law. There's no set fine. The penalty is up to the court, and let's be honest, the wife. Local police have confirmed that yes, husbands have been reported. Imagine calling the cops because your husband didn't bring cake. Hello 911, I'd like to report a romantic emergency. The law might sound like a joke, but it's real, and it works. Samoa now boasts one of the lowest rates of forgotten anniversaries on Earth. Fear is a powerful motivator for love. 15. Greece's video game ban. In 2002, Greece decided to fight illegal gambling by banning all video games, everywhere, on computers, consoles, even mobile phones. If it beeped, blinked, or entertained you, it was outlawed. The government quickly realized they'd just turned every teenager into a criminal. Police actually arrested cafe owners for letting kids play chess on their PCs. It took years to roll back the ban, but for a brief, glorious period, Greece achieved the impossible. They made Tetris contraband. Picture customs officers confiscating Game Boys like narcotics. What's this? Just Mario, sir. Tell it to the judge. It remains one of history's most hilariously overreaching laws, a nation that tried to outlaw boredom and accidentally declared war on fun. 16. North Korea's jeans ban. In North Korea, blue jeans are illegal, not because of fashion crimes, but because denim is seen as a symbol of American imperialism. Seriously, the government banned them in the early 2000s, declaring that wearing Levi's was basically treason with pockets. Instead, citizens are expected to wear neutral-colored trousers approved by the state, because nothing says freedom like mandatory khaki. There's even NIU, a black market denim scene where smuggled jeans are sold for absurd prices. Imagine risking prison just to look like a Walmart shopper. For context, this is the same country where owning an unapproved haircut can get you fined. So, next time you complain about your skinny jeans being uncomfortable, remember, in some places, they're a literal act of rebellion. 17. China's reincarnation permit. Here's a law straight out of Orwell's blooper reel. In 2007, China passed a rule stating that Buddhist monks must apply for government approval before reincarnating. The official reason? To maintain order in religious succession. The real reason? To control the future Dalai Lama. Imagine needing a permit to come back as yourself. Bureaucrats literally have to approve your next life. Somewhere in an office, a guy is stamping forms. Denied. Too enlightened last time. The law is so absurd that even state media struggled to explain it without sounding like satire. It's the only known case where death isn't the end, it's just the start of more paperwork. 18. Iceland's pet ban on dogs. Until 1984, Reykjavik, Iceland's capital, banned dogs. Officials claimed the cold climate and lack of proper sewage made canine ownership a public health hazard. But locals joked that it was really because the city council preferred cats. Dog owners had to smuggle their pets in like contraband, hiding them in basements or pretending they were large hamsters. For 60 years, Reykjavik was a bizarre dog-free zone, while cats ruled the icy streets like furry dictators. When the ban was finally lifted, there was a literal parade of dogs through the city. So, the next time you see an Icelandic husky-looking smug, just know he's walking on centuries of political victory. 19. The Saudi Arabia Valentine's Day. Ban in Saudi Arabia. Valentine's Day was officially banned for decades. No roses, no heart-shaped chocolates, no red clothing in public. Florists were ordered to hide flowers, and anyone caught selling romantic gifts could face fines or even jail. The goal was to prevent un-Islamic celebrations, but it only fueled an underground love market. People started smuggling red roses like contraband, delivering them in secret with coded messages like, "The package has arrived." It was basically love, but make it a spy thriller. Eventually, the restrictions loosened, but for years, romance in Saudi Arabia was a covert operation. Somewhere, a couple probably got engaged over a black market teddy bear. 20. Japan's waistline law. In Japan, being too round isn't just unhealthy, it's illegal. The 2008 Metabo law requires companies and local governments to measure citizens' wastes annually. Men over 40 can't exceed 33.5 inches, and women can't go over 35.4. If too many employees fail the test, the company faces fines. It's corporate peer pressure disguised as healthcare. Imagine your boss walking up with a tape measure and saying, "For the good of the team, tighten up." The idea was to combat rising obesity, but it spawned a wave of waistline panic. People started crash dieting before their annual belly audits. It's the world's strangest wellness initiative. Big Brother meets Weight Watchers. 21. Italy's sand theft law. Sardinia, Italy has beaches so beautiful, people started stealing the sand. Tourists would scoop it into bottles as souvenirs until local authorities realized they were losing tons of it every year. Literally tons. So they passed a law making it illegal to remove sand, shells, or pebbles from beaches. Fines can reach up to $3,000, and customs officers now scan for sand smugglers at airports. There's even a display of confiscated jars at the airport museum, like a hall of shame for beach bandits. Imagine explaining that to customs. "Sir, what's in the bottle?" Memories? No, that's 2 kilograms of coastline, you thief. Sardinia, where even the sand has legal representation. 22. The United States Toilet Tax Rebellion. In the late 1800s, Massachusetts decided to tax toilets. Yes, homeowners were charged a fee for every indoor water closet they owned. The idea was to fund new plumbing infrastructure, but it quickly turned into chaos when people realized the government was literally counting their toilets. Inspectors went door to door to tally commodes, and outraged citizens began dismantling their bathrooms to avoid the levy. It was basically the Boston Tea Party, but with porcelain. The outrage got so intense that officials had to repeal the law, having learned a valuable lesson: never come between Americans and their right to a free flush. Today, the phrase toilet tax still makes historians chuckle, and homeowners double-check their property taxes just in case. 23. India's ban on magic tricks. In 1954, India passed a law that made it illegal to practice magic for profit without government permission. It was part of a post-independence campaign to discourage superstition, but it accidentally criminalized every street magician in the country. Performers suddenly needed a license to pull a rabbit from a hat. Bureaucrats became the ultimate illusionists, the only people who could make your career disappear with one stamp. Some magicians fought back by filing for absurd permits like license to levitate or certificate of mystical disappearance. The irony? The law didn't stop superstition, it just gave it paperwork. To this day, performing magic in India technically requires government approval, making every card trick a small act of rebellion. 24. The UK's salmon handling law. Under Britain's Salmon Act of 1986, it's illegal to handle salmon in suspicious circumstances. Yes, that's the actual wording. The law was meant to prevent poaching, but it's become a national punchline. Police have even tweeted reminders on how not to handle your salmon suspiciously. No one defines what suspicious means, so theoretically, cradling your fish like a baby or whispering secrets to it could land you in trouble. Picture a fisherman being interrogated. "Where were you between 8 and 9 p.m.? Cuddling a trout, officer." It's a law that proves the UK can turn anything, even seafood, into a potential criminal offense. Somewhere, a lawyer probably has fishy business specialist on their business card. 25. The U.S. Colorado rain ban of 1907. At the turn of the 20th century, Colorado outlawed rainmaking. Back then, eccentric inventors claimed they could summon storms with cannons, kites, or electrical clouds. Farmers loved it, until one experiment flooded an entire valley. In response, the state passed a law banning anyone from artificially inducing precipitation without permission. Imagine a sheriff knocking on your door like, "Sir, did you summon a cumulonimbus without a permit?" Violators faced fines and even jail time for unsanctioned weather manipulation. It's one of the few times in history the government literally told people to stop playing God. And yet, in a world full of climate issues, Colorado remains the only state brave enough to say, "You want rain? File the paperwork first." 26. Russia's emo music ban. In 2008, Russia declared war on sadness, specifically emo culture. The government labeled it a dangerous teen movement and banned emo hairstyles, fashion, and concerts in public schools. Officials claimed the music promoted depression and social nihilism. Essentially, if you wore black eyeliner and listened to My Chemical Romance, you were an enemy of public morale. Teenagers started rebelling by holding silent protests dressed in black, which, ironically, just proved the point. Even the Kremlin's own youth advisors called it the most emotional law ever written. It was later softened, but for a few surreal years, Russia became the only country where listening to sad songs could make you a criminal. 27. The United States monkey selfie copyright ban. In 2011, a macaque in Indonesia named Naruto stole a photographer's camera and snapped a perfect selfie. The photo went viral and sparked an insane legal debate in the US when animal rights groups tried to sue for the monkey's copyright ownership. The court eventually ruled that animals can't hold copyright, but Congress quietly updated certain laws to prevent non-human authorship. In short, no more monkey photographers, robot poets, or parrot painters owning intellectual property. It's one of those moments where lawmakers had to say with a straight face, yes, we're banning animal selfies. The photo remains online, forever proof that a monkey once broke the internet and accidentally rewrote copyright law. And there you have it, proof that on planet Earth, stupidity isn't just contagious, it's legislated. From romantic outlaws to illegal pickles, we've truly mastered the art of banning nonsense with even more nonsense. So, which of these ridiculous bans deserves a medal for peak absurdity? Tell me in the comments before someone outlaws laughter next.